Welcome back, guys. Today I thought I'd do a brief video just talking about some of the distributions that I found to be my favorites in 2017, and also a little bit of a general discussion on desktop environments versus distributions. And so I thought I'd do a video and talk a little bit about 2017. So right now on my hard drives I have multiple distributions, and I'll just give you a screenshot of my grub screen so you can see what that looks like. So you can see that I have Manjaro Linux. That's actually an LXDE install. Then I've got Ubuntu 17.10, which is the GNOME desktop. Then I have Ubuntu 16.04, which is the Unity desktop. Then I have a Manjaro Linux install, which is GNOME, Windows. I've got an Antergos install, and I'm using the GNOME desktop on that. I've got Swag Arch with the XFCE, which is what it comes with. And then I've got a Debian install of Stretch, the stable version of Debian, which has the GNOME desktop. And then MX17, the first beta. And I've got that installed, and that has, of course, the XFCE desktop. And so you can see I've got quite a variety. It's on something like 4 internal SSDs and 3 external SSDs. So I've got all of those options available to me. In addition to that, I have on one of the hard drives I have a Mac install. Now with Mac, the bootloader is the Clover bootloader, and as you can see I've got it picks up a variety of my hard drives, but this is the Sierra, Mac OS Sierra install, and this that's how I bring up my Mac desktop, is by going into Clover. So this computer is an extremely versatile and busy little computer. It's got a lot of options available to me. I spend most of my time, and I would say in excess of 98% of my time, in Linux. I only go into Mac for a few things, and Windows actually very rarely. I'm thinking of removing Windows completely. So that's where I stand right now. Now what I'm going to do, this is the Swag Arch install, and I'm just using this desktop right now as an example of the theming options that are available to you within Linux. Now within XFCE, you can see I have XFCE. I have Plank installed, which is this dock that you see on the left. I have the standard XFCE panel at the top, and I created a new panel. I made it transparent, and I added a bunch of application launchers. So you can see that you have so many theming options available to you within Linux, and in this case within XFCE, that if you do a little bit of homework on theming, you'll have no problem at all creating this. Now these, obviously, if I were running this, I would not have both panels. There's really no need. These are pretty much redundant. I've got the standard XFCE panel on the right that I created. If I right click and go to panel preferences, you can see I've got 2 panels. Panel 1 at the top, panel 2 on the right side. And that's really all I would need. I would not need this Plank version. However, I created it just to illustrate the options that you would have available to you. When I'm looking at distributions that came out in 2017, or distributions that I prefer, keep in mind that distributions, and your point of view may be different, but in my point of view, from my point of view, the distribution many times is not as important as the choice of desktop environment. Many people look for a distribution that has their desktop environment. So if they prefer XFCE, they may go looking for distributions that will allow the XFCE desktop. Now keep in mind, I am very much aware that most distributions you can install the XFCE desktop, or pretty much any desktop you want, on top of it. But not everybody is comfortable doing that. So if you're looking for XFCE, for example, you have a choice of Ubuntu, Swag Arch, MX Linux, and Linux Lite, for example. So there are multiple distributions that will allow you to run XFCE. Then, of course, you have the GNOME desktop, which the new version of Ubuntu 17.10 eliminates the Unity desktop and goes in with GNOME, but they did make the GNOME desktop resemble Unity for those who liked the look of the Unity desktop. So what I'd like to do now is just to go in, just do a brief walkthrough of each of the distributions on my computer so you can see the differences and the similarities, and then we'll talk about which ones I prefer, and we'll talk a little bit about the criteria that I use to measure a distribution. Now, of course, the criteria may change also depending upon how familiar you are. What is your level of expertise within Linux? If you're a true beginner, then of course your preferences and your criteria would be different than if you're someone who has been using Linux for some time. So let's talk a little bit about that in general by looking at the various desktops that I have on my computer. And I'll be right back, and we'll be looking at Manjaro Lxde. Be right back. Okay guys, welcome back. This is Manjaro Gnome, as you can see. I haven't changed much of the theming. This is pretty much what you see out of the box. I did add a conky. Other than that, it's pretty much standard Manjaro Gnome desktop. Now, Gnome is very themable using the tweak tool. Mainly your theming is achieved through appearance. You can use a global dark theme. There are several dark themes that you can download. Adapta is the one that's being used out of the box. It's a very nice theme. You can work with extensions in order to really modify the look and feel of the desktop. I used to be not a big fan of GNOME, but I have become a fan of the GNOME desktop for a variety of reasons. It is a little bit more resource intensive. However, I have found that things like screen tearing are taken care of usually out of the box. I don't have to go in and modify files and do anything with my NVIDIA drivers. I just load the drivers, and normally I don't have any screen tearing when using Manjaro Gnome or using really any GNOME desktop. So this is Manjaro Gnome. If you like the look, again, it's Arch based, so there are some cautions to be taken when using Arch based distributions, but if you're familiar with Linux, you shouldn't have any issues. The install is very straightforward. It's as easy as any other distribution when you're using Manjaro to be able to utilize the Arch Linux distribution. So guys, I'll be right back in the next distribution. And welcome back, guys. This is MX Linux. Now this is the MX17. It's the first beta release, so I wouldn't recommend it as a daily driver just yet. But if you are interested in this type of look, MX has a 16 version that is stable and released as a normal distribution release. So if you want to get this look, then you can install MX16. Now MX16 comes with the panel on the left, but you do have an easy option within the MX tools to get that panel at the bottom. Now it is based off XFCE, so again it is easy to theme, and MX16 makes it extremely easy using their proprietary configuration options. Now if you do a search for MX, you can see that they provide so many different tools and utilities to you that A, it's easy to install, and B, it's easy to get your feet wet trying new features and really getting to know Linux in all of its aspects. So you've got the user manual, Conky, MX Tools, boot repair, app notifier, the welcome screen. You've got a codecs installer, desktop clock. You've got a Conky available right out of the box. Network assistant, package installer. Your drivers can be easily installed just with a couple of clicks. Repo manager, snapshot, select sound, switch user. This is, I can't say enough good things about it. This is a terrific Linux distribution. And to top it off, it's based on Debian stable. So you can't get much more stable than that. Now they do have options to use their test repo and things like that, so you can avail yourself of later versions of software packages. So automatically this thing is like two big thumbs up. MX16 is absolutely fantastic. Now again, this is the 17, the beta, so I wouldn't recommend it as a daily driver, but I would recommend that you take a look at MX16, install the stable release, and you'll be good to go. And then you can really dig into all of the bells and whistles that they make available to you. So again, this is MX17 based on XFCE. Very easy to theme, very easy to learn Linux. So guys, I'll be right back in the next distribution. Okay guys, now this is Ubuntu 17.10 with the GNOME desktop. As you can see, the panel is on the left, and you can change the transparency, you can tweak pretty much everything within the look of the desktop through the tweak tool, and that would be through appearance. But out of the box, it's got a very nice look to it. Again, it's tweakable. You can change it, you can modify it. It takes a little work to dig in and do that, but it's all part of the learning process within Linux. So this is the Ubuntu GNOME Desktop 17.10. And I'll be right back in the next distribution. Okay guys, welcome back. Now this is the 16.04 version of Ubuntu with the Unity desktop. Now it is configurable. You can tweak it. You would use the Unity tweak tool. It's a little bit different, but I really like it. It's simple. It's normally pretty stable. Don't have any issues with it. I still prefer Unity slightly over GNOME, but again, time marches on. For some reason, they don't want to continue Unity, although there is a rumor that it will be continued unofficially, whatever that means. But in the meantime, 16.04 is still available. It is a long-term support version, so you can still download it and install it, and they're maintaining it. The updates are still valid. So it is a good desktop. I'm not sure it's the best one if you've never used Linux before, but nevertheless, Ubuntu is relatively stable, and it's just another flavor that you might want to take a look at. I'll be right back in the next distribution. Okay guys, welcome back. Now this is Antergos. Now this is another opportunity to see what Arch is like. I would have to say it's not quite as user-friendly and intuitive as Manjaro, but it's pretty close. During the installation, you'll pick your desktop environment. They do offer you 5 or 6 different options. They have some nice wallpapers. Again, I did some theming. I put my own conky there, and I made the panel transparent and added a bunch of launchers to it. But if you're looking for an Arch-based GNOME desktop, you can't go wrong with Antergos. I just ran an update on it a few minutes ago. It was a rather large update because I hadn't been using it in a while, and everything went flawlessly, no problem at all. So again, this is Antergos, Arch-based. This is the GNOME desktop. It gives you the option to go with, I believe, LXQT, XFCE. So there are a variety of desktops available to you. It is very, very nice. I really like it. And let's move on to the next distribution. Be right back. Okay guys, and this is Manjaro Lxde. Now, theming is a little bit more difficult, not quite as straightforward as XFCE. For example, if you go into preferences, you'll see that you've got OpenBox Configuration Manager and Customize Look and Feel. So you can use either of those, and so it's not always as intuitive as it is theming through XFCE. But I actually, in many ways, prefer LXDE because it's lightweight. I can make it do whatever I want it to do. I can center windows. I can make sure my keyboard volume keys work properly. So, but as I said, it's not quite as easy or straightforward as XFCE. But I do enjoy LXDE. This is Arch based. Typically Manjaro distributions are usually pretty stable even though they are Arch based. I have had a few issues in the past having to resurrect my system because of a problem that developed during an update. But if you're using Arch, you just need to make sure that you're careful and scrutinize all of the update files before you click that apply button. But again, this is Manjaro Lxde. You can theme it pretty much. You can get any look that you're going for. You can see I put a panel on the right side with some launchers, or you can just add the launchers individually to the panel, the LXDE panel at the bottom. You can move the panel to the top, to the side, left, right. So it is very themable, but again, not quite as intuitive or easy to theme as XFCE. So let's go into the next distribution on my hard drive. Okay guys, so far we've looked at all of the distributions within this particular computer, and this is the last one that we're going to take a look at. This is a plain old Debian Stretch version 9, the stable version installation, and I have installed the GNOME desktop. And in my opinion, Debian Stretch, Debian 9, and again, this is my opinion, because of the amount of progress it has made in getting the Debian stable desktop to a state where the average person can install it and select their desktop environment. and end up with an installation that is so stable. In the past, up to version 8, you were really sacrificing state-of-the-art software. And it was really noticeable in that there were lots of packages that I wanted to install but that were not available. But now with version 9, I can't find anything that I need that is not readily available within the Debian repos. So consequently, Debian ticks all the boxes for me. It's extremely stable. You can select the desktop environment that you want. There are so many software packages available. Again, I haven't found anything that I need that is not available. Pythos, GIMP, Steam, NVIDIA drivers, my Broadcom drivers, and again, the driver installation is a little bit harder than, let's say, an Ubuntu installation. However, the trade-off, for what you get for a little extra work, in my opinion, is well worth it. Once you have Debian installed, set up the way you want it, you can install updates with no fear of your system breaking. And again, I'm speaking only about the stable version. But when Debian says stable version, that's truly what it is. It's very, very stable. So if I had to rank my top 3, I would say Debian 9, and basically with any desktop you choose. Because as I said before, I think sometimes we put more emphasis on the desktop than we do on the distribution itself. Because let's face it, with Ubuntu and Debian, your package management is basically the same. And so if you factor in all the other considerations, I believe because of its stability, Debian has an edge. And I would, because of the inroads and the improvements Debian has made this year with version 9, I would have to say that it gets my vote as distribution of the year. And I never expected to be saying that, to be honest with you, because whenever I would install Debian 8, I always went after the testing version. Now there's no need to. When I install Debian Stretch, the stable version 9, I get everything that I need. No problems whatsoever. If I had to pick a number 2, I would have to go with Ubuntu. And again, there are so many flavors of desktops that I'm sure it has something that you like. Again, for ease of use, ease of installation, driver installation, Ubuntu. If I had to select an Arch distribution, best of for 2017, I would have to go with Swag Arch. It's clean, it's lightweight, it's got the XFCE desktop, which, as I mentioned before, is very easy to theme. Everything is easily accessible and configurable. So for Arch, my vote would be for Swag Arch. Now, Manjaro is always a good choice. However, Manjaro this year ran into some problems. They had some issues, and now they're kind of branching into computer sales, Spitfire. So I'm not sure what effect that's going to have on the distribution itself. And so, as I said, if I had to pick Arch, Swag Arch would be number 1 and Turgos would be number 2. As far as Ubuntu, again, pick your desktop. It's really what you feel most comfortable using as far as a desktop. And I think most people prefer to pick the desktop. The desktop environment carries more weight with the average end user than the distribution itself. So for 2017, number 1, Debian Stretch. Number 2, Ubuntu. Number 3, SwagArch. So guys, that is it for this video. Hope you're doing well. I realize I haven't been on YouTube in a couple weeks, but I've got a few things going on, as you know, and I will try to do more frequent videos. If you now, I'd like to do something that you guys would like to see. So you guys have mentioned that you'd like me to do a theming video, and because there are so many differences in theming, there are so many differences within desktop environment. If you could specify the desktop environment that you'd like me to cover, and then whichever one gets the most votes, that's the one that I'll do. So if you want LXDE, XFCE, if you want GNOME, whatever it is you'd like to see, that's fine with me. So guys, thank you for stopping by the channel today. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Take care.